Hello and welcome. Today we've got David Mahoney and we will be discussing all the latest updates in the UK with Matt Hancock, etc. Just before you begin, you can subscribe to my Telegram channel and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And I will also leave David Mahoney's links below so you can follow him too. Now, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, we would choose our words wisely due to the censorship on YouTube. David, thank you for joining me. How are you?
How are you, mate? We're doing it a bit later than we are normally. Lee's not with me tonight because he's got car problems. His car's been serviced. The guy was sick today, so he didn't come in. But I'm well, and you?
That's good. That's fantastic. I think there's lots of things happening over the weekend.
Man, it was
and you was telling me that you have this theory about Matt Hancock, and I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, you see, I think that's a whole distraction, Nick, because I pulled up the famous video that everybody's watched. I pulled it apart frame by frame. There's a few things in there I can see it's a bit edited. And it just seems very staged to me because I think this is a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically you've got thousands of people standing outside on the streets of London, even on Mondays and weekdays now, shouting and demanding he quit and demanding his arrest. So it seems like an easier way out where they go to his family and say, listen, we're going to set up a fake affair and, give a little bit of a smooch and a kiss. And, then we'll release it to the press and then it's your way out. So rather than that, or they could be setting him up for a courtroom case, because if they are bringing trial and crimes against humanity against him, he might be the patsy. It's the same thing with Fauci. Fauci, all his shenanigans and wrongdoings have come out. It's quiet about Fauci right now, but these guys, they've set themselves up in business that'll stretch for years and years. They've all got government contracts. All the shares in these companies are all owned by their family members. So you really think he gives a damn about being labeled, a cheater? He doesn't.
No. I went and had a coffee earlier and this woman walks in and into the restaurant and she says, oh, I forgot my mask. And I says to her, so did Matt Hancock, So because he's the health secretary of the UK and he's the one that created the restrictions for us to follow, and he can't follow them himself, and neither are the other politicians are able to follow them themselves. So what does that mean?
It means that they're two-faced swine. They can't, there's one rule for them and another rule for us. It's sickening how they can just get away with it, but at least he was caught. The other weird thing about that case, Nick, sorry to cut you off there.
No, please, you haven't.
This woman, Gina, she's a multi-millionaire. She's very wealthy. Why would she take a poxy little aid job like that, no money in it for her, to what? Just being wandering around Downing Street and the House of Commons and messing about with him? Was she that in love with him that she took a job? Come on, the whole thing stinks. It's just not believable.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense at all, So we don't know what the real reason is, but it's whatever it is, it's definitely a distraction. So,
now, there's a lot of things happening with Anthony Fauci. The emails have been leaked. There's just a lot of inconsistencies with him, information coming out that this was a surprise outbreak, so to speak. But it wasn't, according to him, from years ago, from the things that has been coming out. And all of a sudden now we have the health secretary of the UK resign. And I think that he's been forced to resign or advised to resign for his own public interest, to protect his reputation.
Well, he hasn't got a reputation anymore. They're in it for the money, mate. They're not in it for the glory, because he's probably the most hated man in public apart from Boris Johnson right now. But Fauci hasn't stepped down yet. He's still, whatever his position is at the moment, he still hasn't stepped down. So, yeah, the other weird thing is I've noticed that it's most of these countries that are living and enforcing all of these draconian, really hardcore rules are the English colonized countries: Australia, New Zealand, USA. I mean, it was the Brits that first sent people there. And obviously Ireland's really bad as well. The Republic of Ireland, that little small country with there's only about 6 million, 8 million people in it. And they got banged up again. Their lockdown just continued for another 6 months. So it's funny how it's all the English-speaking countries which were colonized by the UK. I mean, for want of a better thing, way of saying it, it is. Because Spain, we haven't had it as bad. Now we've got no masks on the street. We can walk everywhere with no masks on. I mean, I never took any notice of it anyway, but officially that's the rule. Everything is open till 2 a.m. They're still enforcing it in restaurants when you go up.
So why do you think it's all the English-speaking countries that are going for a rigorous lockdown?
Well, I think it's all to do with this great plan that they've got, because if you think about where the Freemasons came from, it was all started in the UK. I mean, then that spread to the New World. I mean, they've got that weird triangle on the dollar bill. I think it spread from the Freemasons, which goes back to the Knights Templar, which goes back to the Crusades, which goes back to the Vatican. It's all old world handshakes and deals and setting everything in place for them to carry on. They have a grand plan, which they're nearly through with. So you got the Vatican controlling one side of things, the City of London controlling the other one, and then you've got the City of Washington, which is, they're all cities within cities. Mm-hmm. It's funny, this is where all the criminal activity, all the gang-related, organized crime. You think the mafia are bad? These guys have been at it way longer than the mafia. They make mafia look like Disneyland.
I see your perspective. There's also another perspective that I would like to put out there for you and the viewers. And that perspective is the majority of the English-speaking countries are the Western society, correct?
Yeah.
And would you agree that the Western society is the most indoctrinated out of
the they are.
Right?
They're the ones that are pushing and pushing and pushing. New Zealand, right. Canada. There's another one, Canada. We forgot all about Canada. And they've just passed these laws where they can't have outside influence on social media because it has to all be Canadian-based. So Justin came back from the G7 with you got the go-ahead. They came back and introduced all these really restrictive laws on what people can see and what people can produce. South Africa, there's another one. They're not even allowed to buy cigarettes or tobacco. And they've just gone into another 2-week lockdown, which came overnight. They had no real notice. Just when the country was recovering a little bit, South Africa's gone in there as well.
Well, I'll tell you what, cigarettes is definitely a real pandemic.
Cigarettes are the devil. Yeah, well, I mean, look, if you're going to be locked in a house, you've got to give people a little bit of stress.
How do we know that the English countries, the English-speaking countries all around the world, who we believe is a big majority of the Western society, or if not most, okay, who we believe are the most indoctrinated out of the whole world? We are much more indoctrinated. We're considered to be forward thinkers, and we look at the rest of the world as old fashioned because they have more traditional values than us. So that's the perspective. So maybe they're pushing the lockdowns so that we can start pushing back.
Well, I think that was a good theory, but you've got to look at how society has become, Nick. You're a younger guy, so your memory isn't as long as mine, but society's become very lazy. They don't do anything now. Like, I remember when I first went to America, I couldn't believe I was walking around a suburb of New York and the cops pulled up next to me and said, "Where are you going?" I said, I'm walking. I'm having a look, walking, trying to find a shop or something. They said, nobody walks in America. And they don't. Now, England is about 7 years behind the US in trends, I've noticed. So whatever's happening there, they get cherry Coca-Cola, we get it a few years later. Haagen-Dazs ice cream, that was another one. I remember Americans saying, well, haven't you got Haagen-Dazs here? In the 90s, I was like, I've never heard of it. Now everybody knows this brand. So they've become, people of your generation are a lot lazier than when we were your age. When I was in my 20s, we didn't have a car. Nobody had a car. I didn't even have a phone in my house when I was growing up most of the time. We'd walk everywhere. There wasn't much fast food. You'd have to eat stuff that you do yourself. You'd learn how to cook yourself because your parents would be working on this type of thing. But when you watch American television, they grew up with all of this convenience. All the teenagers, well, first of all, they went to high schools where everybody was good looking, which obviously is bullshit. There's always amazing looking guys and girls in these American movies. They all had a car. They're all driving at 16. They're all driving through the IHOP or the McDonald's, or the diners. And it's a society that's become lazy. So it's a lot easier now to get people in your age group in their 30s, 20s and 30s. I mean, it's even worse for the younger ones, like 15, 16 now. They're watching all of this negative music, all of the rock, the rap, the pop, all of their music is all based on trying to get money so you can flash it around, do this with dollar bills. None of these artists write any of their own material. Very few of them can actually play a musical instrument. It's all created by electronic trickery. And they're all just, okay, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take him and we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's all a plan. There's none of this touring, what all the bands used to do in the 70s and the 80s in Europe.
So you say, I agree with you. I really, really agree with you. Okay, because of the way technology has gone and everything's done for us, the younger generation have become more lazier. Now, when they become lazier, they don't complain. So what do you do with a generation that's so lazy in the English-speaking countries, the Western society, who are heavily indoctrinated, who are lazy?
Yeah.
You put them under lockdowns until they push.
Well, yeah. I mean, that would work as well, but they're not pushing, are they? The people that are pushing back now, if you see the average age of people at these protests, I would say it's 35 and up.
But that's why we're going for another lockdown, David.
Yeah, I don't believe this Boris is going to let you out the next one. I think he's going to extend it because he's going to use that new imported one that they've been talking about, which we proved to be absolutely a load of rubbish. It needs to be over 30% different than the previous one that they've been telling us, which they still can't actually isolate and give us a sample that we can look at. So these lockdowns, I don't think they haven't got the training, they haven't got the tenacity, and they haven't got the balls to do it. I mean, in the 80s, if they did this in the 80s, there's no way that we would even be here right now, because all of these nutters, these football hooligans, they were looking for fights. They enjoyed it. But now the younger generation have been brought up where they're too politically correct. Oh, you can't say this, you can't do that, or you got to do this. They've been raised with rules and regulations, and they're so accustomed to following the rules and regulations. Oh, you don't want to offend people. Oh, you don't want to do this. That it's very difficult for us to now take these people because they've been so brainwashed about complying, following the rules, doing what you're supposed to do, doing what you're told. Don't cross the line, push the button before you can cross the road. You got to have this license, that license. You need to pay this. You got to do that. It's all a very slow process of making these people that, as an individual, they have no real flair and no real fighting power. You'll get the odd. I mean, I suppose about 1 in 50 maybe would be like that. I don't know.
I 100% agree with you. And this is why I think if you tell vaccinated people that they can't travel because of blood clots and you lock them down permanently, it's just a matter of time, really, until they start pushing.
Yeah, but Nick, the thing about that is, have you heard about this, what companies are now doing? They're setting up in preparation for the people that they have to lose. Have you been watching this trend at the moment?
No, please tell us.
Let's take an oil company where you've got highly skilled workers working in a dangerous situation on an oil rig platform in the Persian Gulf, from Shell or BP, somebody. What they're doing now is their operational base managers are always watching. For example, if you have a woman that works in IT, she gets pregnant, you know that you're going to lose her for several months, maybe a year and a half while she's on maternity leave. So you've got to find a replacement for that person. So now what they're doing is the personnel people are being given a list saying, right, go through that list and tell me which ones on this list have been given this medication. And because we fully anticipate to not have these people in 2 years. So now these human resource managers are going, hang on, what now? So they're getting it from the top, saying the people that have had this medication, you need to find replacements for them within the next 24 months. So it's the same for these people now. If you put them back into lockdown and push it again, yeah, you might have a very small minority of them, but it's the people like you and me that haven't taken this medication that can see clearly all of these indications of what's coming. And we know fine well when we're being lied to. These guys, the younger generation, they just don't know it. You need an army of lions, Nick.
I believe, I agree. I believe that we need to do something to stop this. We need to do something ourselves, not just rely on the authorities, the alliance, if you like. But at the same time, I really believe that they're all set up for the traps, because if they do behave that way and they discriminate accordingly who's been received the Band-Aid or not, I really think that there will be a lawsuits after this and they will be paying.
Yeah, but this takes years. You're right, Nick. You're right, Nick. But, what are you going to do? Sit in your house and file papers and it'll take 2 years? I mean, I've had many law cases I've been involved with. I've always got 3 or 4 cooking.
Well, isn't it? Sorry.
No, they take years. They take years to get to court. The first few cases of this tribunal they're doing via the Nuremberg trials will be coming to light now within the next 6 months. And that's taking 18 months just to get the first case heard.
Look, we've been under this matrix for hundreds of years, probably thousands. Mm-hmm. If it's going to take 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, I'm happy.
No, we're not doing it wrong. We're doing it right. Really, the court system is one of the last forms of justice that you have to be able to rely on. Without courts, it's going to break down. I saw a nice little video just before I spoke to you, Nick. It was a guy standing in the front gates of Downing Street. And there was just the normal police there. And he said, "Excuse me, mate, excuse me." One of the cops turned around and he said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Can Matt come out to play?" And then he says, "No, he's cleaning out his locker." And one of the other cops said, "Yeah, but he's already been caught playing away, isn't he?" So it was refreshing to see 2 policemen that are laughing at the case as well, because right now society is identifying the police as the bad guys. But I think there's hundreds of thousands of police officers that are caught in the middle and don't really know what to do. Like, you know what? There's hundreds of thousands of demonstrators screaming, any minute now they could just go nuts. And if you're a cop trying to control those people, you're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. That eventually there's going to be some spark. It's good that they bring all the music, all the Bob Marley music to the demonstrations in London, because it keeps them happy. They're jumping and dancing and just demonstrating. But you just need some sort of spark incident. Like if there was an incident where somebody got killed by the police, like the American one, that guy that they allegedly put these foot on his neck. If there was something like that happened in London, I think it would spark off a lot of demonstration and violence that would take it to the next level. And that's not good. We need to do this peacefully.
Did you watch Trump's rally the other day?
I watched some of it. Yeah, he had some good points. Thought you weren't allowed to say the T word.
Well, we can say Mr. T. Yeah, I mean that's as far as I go. But I think that Mr. T said some very good pointers that day. I mean, he's the kind of person. I said this to him on my previous interview with Mr. Trumptastic. Actually, he calls himself. He says that he will be taking back the House, the Senate. And I was saying that he, Mr. T is a type of person that under promises and over delivers type of person, because he's a very proud man and he loves his country. And he made a lot of pointers there. And he said, this fight has just begun. I do believe that. I trust him. I really resonate that there is something going on in the background. This was already planned.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot. I'm sure there's a lot going on, but are they able to put it into play? Because when he talks about these things, I was thinking, does he mean now? Does he mean 2024, when he can run again? No. I'd like him to come back.
Well, I think 2024 is optics, because every time people bring up 2024 to him, he doesn't like it. He talks about the polls now. He talks about 2022 is going to be a fantastic year. Personally, I believe he will be back in 2022, but there will be a lot of disclosure from now to then, this year especially. I don't think he's going to be, I think he's going to be working in the background, but as the president, but not the way we know it, only because he's creating a new system. And all this is to expose, the black hats. And
Well,
to
let's hope so, Nick. I mean, I'm a big fan of that whole plan. But what I've done is I've just stepped away from it for a little bit because I decided I thought my time and talents would be better spent trying to help people on a day-by-day basis, getting them through this with restrictions about muzzling your face, about having this medication when they don't want it, being forced by their bosses to take this test with your nose and throat. Because I get literally hundreds of emails every day, and most of the people will tell you that we answer them. Whether we answer it on the show or whether we answer them, I send a lot of emails every day. Some of them are short, some of them are longer, just trying to help people. Like going in for surgery, what do I do if they're insisting on a test before I go into surgery and they're ramming something up my nose? So I answer all these people with tips and little tricks and to get them through. Life hacks, we have to call them now. So as far as going back to Mr. T, if that happens, buddy, I'll be standing shoulder to shoulder celebrating. Absolutely. But for the time being, I have to do this.
Yeah, no, you are absolutely right. And our last video or the video before that, you mentioned a very good point, and it helped a lot of people out because, you taught me something and I shared it with some friends. And one of those things that you said that was very interesting was that if you want to avoid putting anything up your nose, all you have to say is that you have a nosebleed problem, or you bleed, you nosebleed.
Yeah.
And that worked very well. It worked with a family friend that they used it. They were very successful. So I want to thank you. Credits to you.
There's another one you can do. Pack it with Vaseline, then you're guaranteed to get the result you need. Vaseline is a very good bonding because it's a petroleum-based product. And when they insert that long staff, it binds to it straight away and starts to break it down straight away. So when they just ram it around for a second, it hasn't got enough time to get through the Vaseline into your skin. So if you can't get away with a nosebleed, the Vaseline, just shove it up there. And because it's more or less transparent, they can't tell what it is. They're not going to,
And it blocks it.
It blocks it. Yeah, as long as they're up there in a short period of time. What do you call that? Ethanol chloride, is it on the end? I always forget the name. The chemical on the end of the swab stick is toxic. Once it hits the Vaseline covers it, and it's a thick, greasy cover. And they're only up there for a second. So it can't break.
You can blow. Yeah, you can blow your nose after or put alcohol up your nose or something to
just blow your nose. Saline wash is a good one too. It's straight away. If you forget the Vaseline, get one of those saline sprays straight away and spray the hell out of it. That's always good. The saltwater nasal spray. I use those a lot actually, just to keep. If I come back from a big city, I like to spray out my system because you get a lot of toxins in there. But what else was he saying then? What else was T saying that I might have missed?
He was saying that the fight has just begun and we're fighting the DS, He just sounded very comfortable, very positive. He said more things. He said that this thing, that the plague that we're at, it was used to take away the power from him. So so
very well played out, actually. But this is the scary thing, Nick. Even he's a very powerful person, Mr. T, on and off the dance floor. So take him out of the presidential position. He's also powerful in the business world, and he must have a lot of favors owed to him. And he's got his speed dial, the numbers he's got on his phone must be, seriously impressive. So for him to lose, to be cheated in front of the whole world like that, and then in this situation where we are now, I hope he really does have a good plan, because it shows you how much power these people have got to do that. But I see the point. We need to see how dark the night is before we appreciate the dawn. And there's a lot of sense in that, to see how dark the planet's got with all of the corruption, the bribery, the trafficking, even how stupid people are. I mean, walking up a high street in any town, you're just like, moron, moron, moron. You just know they're just either they, I just don't want any trouble. And that's it. As soon as you put that on, it's a symbol that you've given up. You
Yes.
might as well just put your hands up and say, take me away to the FEMA camp.
You're absolutely right. Putting that thing on your face is entering a contract, a non-verbal contract. You know, it's a bit like buying something from the store is an act of entering a contract by showing that you're accepting the offer. And then, you know, the seller has a liability to make sure that the goods are healthy or they're safe, you know. So it's the same thing. Absolutely.
Compliance, not science. That's what it's all about. Are you going on holiday anywhere this year? That's what everyone's talking about now. Where are you going on holiday? You going on holiday?
No, I'm happy here working on the truth.
How many? You must do at least 60 interviews a day, do you? How many do you do a day?
No, not that interview. About 2, 3, sometimes 4.
Hard work, though, isn't it?
I love it. It resonates with me. I'm in education. I'm back to school. You know, yeah, that's how it feels like. I'm learning a lot. It keeps my vibration high. I feel good when I go out with interviews. When I have no interviews, I still feel good, but I miss it. You know, I can't wait to get back. You know, I get motivated. You know, more.
You must have a few favorites. So I mean, 107's always good, isn't he? Gene Decode, he's good.
I think my favorites, a lot of them are good. I love all my guests. I love all of them.
Mel's always bouncy as well, isn't she?
Yeah, I like Mel K. I like 107, Gene Decode, Michael Jaco. He's one of my favorites. But they're all great. I love them. You know, I always say you have to have something to bring to the table. There has to be value, and it's not for me. It's for the viewers. I do this for the viewers.
Yeah, we're all slightly different. Like I like Sasha Stone because he can be really gentle, really nice. And then when he goes off, he's amazing. His research is always really good. 107's with his feet up. I'm saying, is this guy ever going to show us anything but his feet? And then Gene's dumb information is very good. Mel's very good on the East Coast, the intel she gets there. So yeah, we're all individual. It's fighting for the same cause. It's funny. I wonder what we're going to do when it all ends. What's everybody going to do?
Well, I think it's a gradual thing, and I think there'll always be room for educating, and there's going to be other new rabbit holes in a positive way, where we can do humanitarian things, or you know, we could open up news media for the truth, or it could be completely different. I don't know, but the opportunities will be endless, and that's what I think. And this is just the very beginning.
I'm going to start recording my intel secrets, because my previous life before this, there was a lot of stuff in the film business, but I used to disappear for a few years and go on these little adventures. In Central and South America, I got involved in aviation. We were flying all over the place. That was fun. Medical evacuations, we did that. And I learned a lot of tricks about how to stay above the authorities. For example, passport control, visa status. So I'm going to do a series of life hacks that are actually a lot of them now you need. I developed all these myself just by trial and error. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to call it, I don't know, like when you get arrested by the police, for example. I had a girl called, was it Sam? No, I think it was Sam. Sam was going to the rally last weekend, and she was very concerned. She's saying, what if I get arrested? You know, what am I going to do? I said, well, all they do is they'll take you downstairs for a few hours. And I said, the cells in the UK are clean and dry. They're boring. They're either too hot, too cold, usually, but all right, you can deal with that. And then they'll take you back upstairs a few hours later. They'll say, do you want to say anything? And you say, no. And then they just bail you. You just get a piece of paper and say, right, you'll be notified when you have to go to the magistrate's court. And it's a Mickey Mouse charge. So it'll probably never even go there anyway. And it's not a criminal offense. However, I'll finish that. We'll go into that other one. So I'm going to do a series of my life hacks, which will help a lot of people. I'm going to do that. We're launching the Lee's martial arts self-defense thing. We've done all those videos now. We're just loading them up. So that's going to be coming imminently on Digital Warrior Productions. He's done a really good job. They look like video games. They're really fun. And it's just basically how to defend yourself, how to identify a threat. But there was somebody, going off that, Nick, I saw a video of a woman that was not, the police knocked on her door. It was England. And she opened the door and she said, yeah. And they said, oh, we've got reason to believe that you're going to an illegal demonstration later. And she says, what's it got to do with you? What I'm doing? And they said, apparently now, I have to check into it, it's unlawful to attend these peaceful rallies about your freedoms and your democracy and your democratic rights. And it's even more disturbing when they go into your door before you've actually done anything wrong, telling you you've done something wrong. I mean, this is like that what's that? There's a film that Tom Cruise did about it where you can be arrested for something that you haven't done yet. I mean, I understand a conspiracy if it's something you're blowing something up, okay, but not going to a demonstration to say, I'm unhappy with the government representation for my rights right now, and I'm going to show them why I'm unhappy and how I'm unhappy. So them coming to our house today, well, yesterday was filmed as disturbing, something new. But
Right,
anyway.
interesting. Please. So maybe we could do 25, 30 life hacks, and we could do them together, and I could challenge you on them.
Yeah, I guarantee I've got them all figured out.
Yeah, I love that. Because I like to look for I like to play devil's advocate so that we can both make sure that we've covered all of the holes and angles for the viewers.
Yeah, you've got to be ballsy to carry them off, though.
I mean, that's okay. We can practice. We have to start becoming ballsy.
Yeah, you knowing how to handle your civil rights when the police talk to you. You know, you know that because of your law training, but they try to trick you. Say, where have you come from? I ain't telling you that.
I do not consent to contract with you. Simple.
Yeah. I'm not saying anything because if I do, you'll use it against me in the court of law. Yeah, just all you're obliged to do in the UK is give me a name and address. That's it. And they'll try to trick you saying, oh, your friend, he's told us all about it. He said that you did it. You killed the Pope. They'll trick you like this. It's just like off the TV things, you know. They try to trick you and admit things, and because the police, they don't like loose ends. The cops, if there's a case that they don't have a solved person for it, they just want you to admit it. That's why they often say, "Is there any other things that you want to tell us while you're here confessing?" And we'll take that into consideration. It means because they want to close the files. Like, I don't know, as a kid, you'd break a window playing football or something. But dealing with the police is an interesting one because no matter where they are in the world, Nick, I've noticed they all have that same sort of brain training. They're all a bit like, you know, it's all the same sort of people they train to be police, unless you're getting into homicide detectives. And I've actually got a good friend of mine who's a homicide detective in San Diego, and I've tested her, and she's pretty smart. That, you know, when you get to that level, what they do is they'll start interviewing you. For example, there's two cops and there's two people. One cop will do an interview with each person, then they'll switch, and then they'll go back and compare notes. And then they'll trick you trying to say something you never said. So the less that you say to police, the better. Because the more you tell them, the more they've got to use against you. And they will. Even if you think they're nice, they're not.
So what happens if you tell them, I do not wish to contract with you, and that's it? And you just keep saying that. They arrest you, they do this, they do that, and you just keep it all the way through. I do not.
There's nothing they can do. There's nothing they can do. You know, they'll just bail you. That's it. Depends on the charge. For example, if you go to one of these, like, all right, if you're in a car and they pull you over, actually by English law again, you can use a vehicle as your own form of transport to get from A to B, but you cannot use the word driver, because the driver is insinuating that you're doing it for commercial gain, paymentary gain, like a truck driver, bus driver, like a herder. That's where it comes from. They're all English words, but you say, this is my personal form of transport. I'm using it to get from A to B on the public highways and byways of the United Kingdom. If nobody has been injured, there is no contract to discuss. I therefore demand to be let on my way peacefully. And that's more or less this. You don't need a driving license. This is a state-issued trick. You don't need insurance. You don't need tax. You don't even need license plates. But you won't get very far because the next policeman will stop you, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one. So it was actually an exercise I was thinking about filming, see how far you could get up the motorway with no license plates, no tax, and you would have the car taxed and insured just to be on the safe side, but you tell them you wouldn't. and see how far
Exactly. Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. And then going back to the UK, flying back and saying, no, I'm not doing the test. You're not locking me in my house. No, you're not coming around checking where I am and what I've been doing. This is not communist China. Get stuffed.
Exactly.
They do your worst. So when you go to the airport and you come back and you have that attitude saying, I do not contract. I do not bow down to your rules. I'm a free man. I'm a sovereign man. And I demand freedom. They'll keep you there for about 3 hours and then they'll kick you out. They won't be able to do anything.
And if there's no victim, there's no crime.
There's no victim, there's no crime. Exactly, that's it. But we've all been conditioned because it's a trick they've been doing to everybody for years. You know, they work for the state. I do not stand under you. So there's life hikes like that, but there's a lot more good ones as well that I've got that, secret ones that they'll never know, how they track and trace you and how you can circumnavigate that. How you check into hotels. Because what they do now is when you check into a hotel, they'll, the hotel have to send all the names of the people that check in on a daily basis to a database. They enter the names of the guests there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you, in Spain, you can't check into a hotel without a passport, but you can if you know what to say. So there's little tricks like this.
So it's very important to, learn these things and life hacks that you want to do. I think it's very important. And I think that we could even do a video where we give a legal education as well.
Yeah, you should, Nick, because the problem is people are going to need it, because I don't think this stuff is going to stop overnight. I think it's going to get as more and more people wake up, they're going to try to keep them more back in. It's a bit like a dam. You can see a few cracks. Okay, let's put some cement there, let's cement there. But eventually it's going to crack and they're going to come flooding out. So this is where we're at now. We're at that breaching stage of the dam, with the amount of people that are saying, hold on a second. You said it's just 2 weeks. It's just 3 weeks. It's just to put this on. It's just for it's just for Easter. It's just for Christmas. It's just till we get to bring the curve down. And now they're realizing it's never, ever going to stop. England is one of the worst countries in the world for this. It's never going to stop. America's good because they've got individual states. It's a lot harder to control. Plus, most Americans have got weapons. You can't control America unless you get rid of the guns. And this is why they keep pushing these gun laws and fake false flag events of people shooting things in movie theaters and schools and off rooftops. It's usually orchestrated by the CIA. So England's in a really bad state because we don't have guns. We're all soft and very polite. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Oh, I didn't mean to shout. Oh, was I shouting? Oh, I do beg your pardon. We're very polite. And in this case, it's not doing us any favors being polite.
Absolutely. Well, we just have to see. We just have to see what's going to happen. Maybe the pushback will be a good thing. Maybe we need this.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm predicting. I'm predicting that when's the next Freedom Day? July the 13th?
I believe so. I think so. I'm not sure.
Like that, isn't it? I reckon the blonde scarecrow is going to say, I want some terrible news. There's been it's come over from where, and it's devastating the figures, and it's broken out in Leicester, it's broken out in Leeds, it's broken out in Doncaster, and now we have to ask you once again to stay home to save lives, and the NHS are being overwhelmed by nobody being in there. And that's what he's going to say. And that's going to be the point, because that's going to be midsummer. People have made arrangements to do things. Girlfriends, boyfriends, family members. I think that's going to make them go, let's go. Could well be, mate.
Well, how about the people that have taken the Band-Aid and they won't be able to travel maybe because of the blood clots?
This is happening. I mean, the airlines now, Air India, have now announced that they've had pilots with medical issues. You've got BA, two American carriers that I want to say American Airlines, but it might be United, or it might be some of the small ones like Southwest, JetBlue. They've announced that they've had pilots with medical problems. And the problem is the insurance, because if you get 4 or 5 people with deep vein thrombosis on an airplane, you have to make an emergency landing. It is thousands. I mean, it's $100,000 just to land a plane like that when there's that many people on it. So I think they're going to say, well, what can we do? We thought it was going to go one way, now it's gone the other. But I kind of don't have much sympathy for them because they should have done the research. If they did research and looked at it properly, I was reading the one of the websites from the one that begins with P today, and it clearly says there are no known medications that are approved by this Drug Administration.
The three-letter agency.
And it says it clearly. All you do is click on it, and it says this is in trial till, and there are no known medication treatments for this disease at the moment from anybody. Yet people are still going, well, it doesn't matter, I'll just have that. What is it? Come on then, give us a couple.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. Yep.
Should we feel sorry for these people, Nick? I mean, I've got friends and family. I've got to go to the dentist tomorrow, and everybody in there's had a double. So I went, when did you have it?
A double shot. We call them a double shot and Coke or gin.
Yeah. Family size.
Yeah.
So they've all had the family size ones back in April. So I'm thinking April, May, June, 3 months. Is it still, spiking? But I take these supplements, Frontline Defense, that we get from the Burrells that we have on our site as well. And they're so strong, man. I mean, I didn't take them for 3 days. I went to the gym and we deliberately, after the stuff, we never used it. I never use this hand gel. Don't like it, won't use it. I want to be exposed. So I got a head cold, a bit of a chest, but mostly head cold. I thought, great. My immune system's working perfectly. It's going to fight it off in 3 days. And I know everything's okay. And of course, everyone's ringing me saying, oh, wouldn't it be hilarious if you got it, Mahoney? If you got it after everything you've been blah, blah, blahing about, then you got it, you know what? Just a cold.
Absolutely. Well, it's about time people start, waking up,
Let's see. After the big liberation day, if he doesn't do it, I don't think he's going to do it personally, because if you let him out, it's very hard to get him back in.
But it's a very good sign that Matt Hancock resigned over the weekend. Not
really. Who was the other idiot? Now they just got somebody else in. But it's not because he was doing a bad job. He was doing a good job. It's because A, there was too many people looking for blood, and B, it's a distraction. Remember the puppet show? Look at the shadow behind. And then this hand's doing something else. Do not trust these people. It is a distraction. It's like a false flag adventure.
So what do you think it was a distraction for?
I think they needed to get rid of him. I think he's done his purpose now. I think he was too explosive. People hated him. They're going to put somebody else in who now, because it's a reset, isn't it? This is, look, arrest Matt Hancock, fire him. Now he's gone. So they say, okay, what are we going to shout about now? Who's next? So then they put the next guy in. He's got some Indian name though, hasn't he? This next fella?
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's got an Indian name. So they put him in there. He might be, he's Asian anyway. They put him in there, and then the public will go, it's going to take the public a long time to build up that hatred to start screaming at him. So, it's just like you just change the chef in the kitchen and you reset, Oh, they don't go there because the chef's bad. Oh, we got a new chef. Oh, okay, I'll come back then. Same thing, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see how this unveils. And it's very interesting. It's entertaining as well at the same time, but I know it's worrying as well. We have to carry on doing what we're doing, and you're doing a fantastic job. And Lee Dawson's doing a great job as well. Say hello to him from me. And of course,
Go on.
And of course, it's been wonderful having you on again. And I wanted to ask you if there's anything else that you'd like to say to the listeners before we finish.
The listeners, you got to stay strong. Keep pushing back. Push back, stay strong. Don't listen to the lies. Do your own research and make your own conclusions. But the last thing you want to be doing is taking from advice from a fella down the pub or your neighbor across the street. Take it from somebody that knows what they're talking about. And if you find anything that you don't like, research it. It's out there. There's thousands and thousands of medical professionals and doctors and experts and scientists now that have all of the information on all of our websites. We've all got all these interviews and clicks. You've just got to look for it. But the problem is a lot of people don't want to admit it, that they've been conned. Because admitting to yourself that you've been conned is a very hard thing to do. It's like being betrayed. No,
absolutely.
They would never do that. They would never do that to me, the government. The government don't give a damn about you, folks, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
You got to protect yourself and push back.
David, you're absolutely right. No, thank you so much. And we'll speak again in 2 weeks, hopefully with Lee Dawson as well. And we'll speak soon. God bless you.
Let me just tell the folks, if you want to watch all of our episodes, go to digitalwarriorproductions.com. We also have a BitTube channel. That's dwpro.uk. You watch everything there. Come and see us. Watch what we're doing. Go to our homepage. There's tons of information and research and thousands of hours. Slightly more than what Nick's got. Your interviews are great, Nick. If you want to do the evidence and documents, we've all got them there for you as well. Much love, wherever you're watching. Thanks for joining. And I hope to see you both soon. If you send those links, I'll happily put them below first thing in the description so that people can follow you. No, thank you so much, David, and we'll speak very soon. All right, bye-bye. See you soon. You too.